Rep the South Side whenever you pay with your White Sox debit card from Wintrust Community Banks and score perks like free ATMs, no monthly fees, and a $300 opening bonus. Pay with pride every time with Wintrust, Chicago's bank.
Hey everybody, it's 𝗪𝗏. Welcome to the latest edition of the White Sox podcast. It is brought to you as always by Wintrust, Chicago's bank. Show your team pride with a White Sox debit card. Get yours at wintrust.com/Sox. Member FDIC, EHL lender. Okay, on the podcast today, it's a great conversation with Jonathan Cannon, and we hit on a whole bunch of topics like how and why he is becoming a much better pitcher here in his second season in the big leagues. He talks about the in-game adjustments he now is making on the mound and how he prepares for each start. Stories about what happened in that game against the Cubs and how a rough April has turned into a much better May for Jonathan Cannon. We get into Tim Elko, a guy who he has been driving to the ballpark every once in a while. He's got inside stories about Elko at the University of Mississippi that you've got to hear. Also, why Edgar Quero is flourishing behind the plate and why these tough losses are making the White Sox tougher. That and more. Here we go. All right, I am with Jonathan Cannon. I want to start with this. You've been in a groove lately. Do you feel like you've been in a groove and things are going well for you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the stuff's been really good, and I think I talked a lot about it at the beginning of the year. I thought the biggest area of improvement was just getting ahead of guys, just throwing some more strikes early on, not making it too hard on myself by constantly being 2-0, 3-1, 2-1. It's really tough to pitch in this league being behind in the count, so just focus on trying to get ahead of guys.
Lately, you haven't had any walks. Why were you finding yourself in 2-0 counts early in the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really just trying to maybe be a little bit too perfect early, throw too good of pitches, try and throw too many perfect pitches, 0-0, 1-0, like you kind of get yourself into bad counts. It's really just giving yourself a little bit more plate and just trusting that getting ahead is the most important thing, getting strike one. And it was also just kind of getting the feel down a little bit early in the season. Cold weather, rain, like whatever, like just trying to get the feel of the pitches down, like see what's working, what's not.
Yeah, 𝗪𝗏𝗶𝗹 was the rain man last year. I thought you were like the cold man. You pitched in, like, 4 games in a row in the 30s or something like that?
Yeah, probably. It felt like that.
How does that affect you? And you were talking to me earlier, not just about the cold, but the dryness factor and how that affects what pitches you can throw and can't. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's difficult to play this game in the cold. This game, I'm a big believer, is meant to be played in the warm and in the summertime. And I think in the cold it's difficult to hit. It's also difficult to pitch, especially with the dryness. That ball just feels almost like a dry cue ball sometimes, and it can be tough to get grips, spin the ball well. And your fingers are a little bit numb, so it's kind of hard to have that feel, especially on pitches like your changeup. For me, pitches like my sweeper. But you learn how to get through it because it's hard to pitch, but it's equally as hard to hit in the cold. Being able to get in on guys' hands and make them a little uncomfortable early can serve you well throughout the game when they're kind of thinking about that. It's a little bit of a learning curve, and it's definitely been a learning curve for me.
So you feel better right now. I want to say mainly, but a big factor is just the weather itself.
I think it's a little bit of a factor. I mean, I think for me it's mostly just kind of been about execution and kind of the pitch shapes and everything. I think the cold weather is something that you play this game long enough, you're gonna and hopefully you're playing this game in cold weather at the end of the year, and you want to be able to pitch in that, and that really just comes with experience. Like, you can talk to guys about it, but it's different than actually going out there and getting the ball when it's cold and learning how to deal with that, because it's something that everyone in this game has to deal with at one point or another.
All right, so we're here at Wright Field, and there's wind out there, and I normally would think that the wind would affect fly balls, but you were telling me that it affects pitches. So how does it affect pitches? Because we're here at ground level. I don't feel too much wind, but it does in certain ballparks at certain times of the year. Can you explain this?
Yeah, so, I mean, at this field, there's a certain wind that if I see it, I know it's going to affect it, and it's a wind that blows straight in from right field. It kind of hits this side of the stadium and goes across. and it will make all your pitches kind of move a little bit more glove side, so a little bit more towards the left-handed batter's box more. And so that's something that, like, it happened like once last year, maybe twice, and we didn't really think it was a thing. We're like, like it's just kind of like a wind day. It's Chicago, it's windy, but it's happened to kind of all of us more and more and more, including the other teams. And so it's like, okay, like how are we going to use this to our advantage, especially when we get to see it happen all the time. Like, this is our home field, so trying to use it to our advantage. And I feel like that's just part of the learning curve, and being able to pitch well at home and in a spot where you are when you're pitching a lot is just learning how to pitch with the conditions into your favor.
Without giving away any secrets, like, how did you work this to your advantage? What pitches did you throw or not throw, or how did you game plan this without giving away what you actually did?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's just learning it's knowing that your pitches are going to move a certain way before you even get out there. And so part of why pitching is difficult, why starting is difficult, and especially, like, I think every starter would tell you, the first inning, no matter if it's the first inning you're out there, is the most difficult, because you're not really sure yet what's working, what's not. You're not sure how your pitches are moving that day. Like, your pitch might be really good in the bullpen, you get out in the game and it's moving completely different. So it's kind of, you're trying to, like, the old joke, like, when you're young and you're trying to get to guys in the first inning. You're trying to get to guys before they can settle in and get themselves in a groove, and part of that settling is figuring out how your pitches are going to move. So when you know before you go out there, hey, like, wind's blowing a little bit that way, we might have to start this pitch a little bit further out, or hey, this one isn't going to come back as much. Like, it's definitely a huge advantage to know that before you go out there.
Are you getting better at in-game adjustments this year?
Definitely. I think part of that too comes with just meeting a lot with cats and talking to the catchers and getting their reads on swings, and hey, like, how are we going to adjust? Like what are you seeing? And I thought that was a big part of yesterday too, is that's a really, really good lineup. The Cubs got a really good team, and so being able to adjust that lineup on the fly and figuring out what they're trying to do against me and how are we going to adjust to it.
Yeah, so first inning, I think this is where you're coming from. They score a run off of you, and then 13 in a row you retired. So there was an adjustment made after the first inning, in the middle of the inning, second inning. When did it happen, and how did it happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I just made a bad pitch to Pete Crow Armstrong, threw a changeup over the plate. He's a really good hitter. He was hot this weekend. Kind of punished it out to center field, hit a triple. Is what it is. I felt like after that at bat, like, I kind of settled down a little bit. I left the changeup up a couple of times early in the game, but was kind of able to get that down as the game went on. But it's really just about just kind of the execution of the pitches, and sometimes the adjustment is more just like a feel thing. Hey, like, we got to really fight to get this down today, or maybe we got to change the target a little bit with the catching. It's just all like little mini adjustments, and this is a game of adjustments, and usually whoever can adjust first is going to win.
All right, I'm going to talk to the competitor, Jonathan Cannon. Sixth inning, you give up, was it a single and a double and a single, and then a fly ball that is 99.9% of the time an out. The wind makes it tough for Brooks Baldwin to catch the ball, and you are taken out of the game. How much did you want to stay in that game and get out of that?
I mean, that was frustrating for me. I mean, obviously, errors are part of the game. That all is very much out of my control. Like, I'm big on the mental side and controlling what you can control. It's a lot easier said than done when you're out there, not trying to get too frustrated. But I felt like I was really in a groove, and so to kind of have it unravel a little bit really quickly was very frustrating for me. I really wanted to stay out there, but I also my pitch count was getting up there. I understood why Will took me out, but I mean, I've kind of prided myself recently on being able to get myself out of my own jams, and so I felt like I always think I'm going to get out of it. So, like, I believe that I would have been able to find a way to get out of it, but obviously didn't get that opportunity. It was kind of some tough luck, a little bit of just uncontrollable situations with the wind. The wind was pretty bad there all weekend. We saw that on both sides, issues with the fly balls and everything. So it was definitely a frustrating way to end it yesterday.
Frustrating weekend, and there was some frustrations from Miguel Vargas as he gets hit by that pitch by Brad Keller. What did you see there?
I really didn't see the situation. I was inside doing kind of like my post-throw routine and my arm care. All I saw was a replay of it, so I don't really know what led up to the disagreement, and I can't really speak to the situation because I didn't really see much of it. Have
you ever accidentally hit somebody and they thought, oh, you're trying to throw at me?
I mean, I think it happens all the time where you hit guys unintentionally, especially guys that throw sinkers or something like that. You try and go inside, you just catch it gets out of your hand a little bit earlier, slips out a little bit, and you hit them on accident. And naturally that pitch, like when it comes out of your hand, it kind of sprays high, where you kind of get into the area where no guy wants to get thrown at, up around their head. It happens. I can't speak to if this was intentionally or not, but
you can just say, Brad Kelly's trying to throw it. Just say it. Just say it.
But I do know that pitches get away from us from time to time.
Okay, got it. I want to talk about your pace. You seem to be throwing at a quicker pace. Is that intentional?
I feel like I've always been someone that works good in a rhythm, and when I kind of get into that rhythm, I feel like just kind of staying in it and moving quickly. I've always been a believer that the defense also works better when you're moving quickly, you're throwing strikes. As someone that used to play defense even in like high school and stuff, like I always liked when pitchers were throwing strikes, moving quickly, and obviously the pitch clock helps with that. But yeah, just I think also it's too just like a little bit of preparation, like knowing what I'm going to throw next. It's like, okay, I'm throwing this pitch to get to this pitch, and kind of having a plan throughout the whole at bat helps you kind of move a little bit quicker as well.
Yeah, easy to say this, but I've always felt this is going to help your defense. Stop taking so much time on the mound. Why don't more pitchers do that? Is it sometimes some pitchers just have so much on their minds that they can't pitch at that pace?
I mean, I think part of it too is like every pitch matters, and you want to make sure that you're focused and locked in for every single pitch. And that is like when things start to get out of hand, you throw a couple balls in a row or you don't execute, like, okay, take your time, take a breath, reset, and get back in there. And I think that's important too, is like making sure that you're not moving too fast to where you blink and you've walked a guy and you're 2-0 on the next guy and you're like, okay, I should have kind of reset myself 4 pitches ago, and making sure you kind of catch yourself before that can happen. But I do think for me, like, working fast has always been something that I've tried to do.
So your next start is against the Rangers.
Yeah.
So take us inside your game plan. Like, what are you doing for the next few days to get ready for that start?
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing I do day one is I'll sit down and watch the start from yesterday, kind of break down what I want to break down.
When you come off a loss, is it tough to watch that?
It's definitely frustrating. I mean, I kind of went through the 6th inning kind of quickly watching it today. I didn't really want to replay it too much in my head, but also just kind of trying to learn from your start and like learn, hey, like what were guys trying to do against me. And it's really like for me, like once I watch that video of the previous start and I finish up the notes and everything, like that start's gone. Good, bad, ugly, whatever, like that start's over. It's on to the next one. So tomorrow I'll usually the day before my bullpen, I'll sit down and watch the first couple of hitters and kind of prepare some notes so I can then practice some sequences I want to throw to them.
Watch a couple of hitters, so you'll watch video of those hitters?
Yeah, so I'll watch video of those hitters and kind of get the initial scouting report and write some notes on it, and then bring those notes out to my bullpen so I can kind of put in a dummy batter and act like I'm facing those guys, so I kind of have an idea of how I want to face them. And then within the days leading up to the start, finish up the rest of the hitters that I might face off the bench. We usually have a pretty good idea what the lineup's going to look like, so you kind of can start to visualize and see what you're going to go up against for that next start. And then really it's just kind of staying in the routine, like in the weight room, in the training room, and just making sure that you're prepared. I think being prepared kind of helps you be confident on the mound and know that you're confident in what you're going to throw. You're not guessing, and that confidence definitely helps you when you're out there, when you're really convicted about what you want to throw.
So you were throwing to Edgar Quero in that Cubs game. How has he been as a catcher for you?
He's been good. He's you feel like he's learned so much since he's been up here, and I think the preparation for him is something that's taken a step forward since the last time I threw to him in Double-A. You can see that he's starting to read guys' swings. Like we had a pitch yesterday. I don't remember which batter was up, but I wanted to throw something. He felt really convicted and gave it to me a couple times on the pitch column, like nodding at me, like, hey, like throw this, and we ended up getting him out. And so like having that conviction and confidence in what you're calling behind the plate, I think has been huge for him, and he's been really fun to throw to.
So that was a swing that he noticed that someone on the Cubs had. Not really by looking at his swing, he felt like your pitch would do really well against that hitter.
Correct. Yeah. So I can't remember which one it was, which batter it was, but he saw a swing on a foul ball. I think I wanted to go to an off-speed pitch. He wanted to stick with something hard, and I was pretty convicted in what I wanted to throw, but I also trust him and trust what he sees, and I ended up throwing what he wanted to throw, and it got us out of an inning. And so that's the kind of thing that you love to see from your catcher when they're ultra convicted and confident in what they want you to throw.
And he's 22.
And he's 22, and he's young, and he's in his first season in the big leagues, and I'm in my second season in the big leagues, and so for him to have that confidence is definitely big for us.
He did that with Vassell the other day. He was trying to get his first save, and he did. And I could just see him like being very demonstrative and being like I think he maybe have thrown. He threw like 4 straight balls, and there was Quero settling him down, giving him the confidence. Hey, we're going to get through this. Let's go.
Yeah, and I think it's cool because like every pitcher needs something a little bit different, and so that's one of the tough jobs of a catcher is to know what your pitcher needs in that moment. Like some guys might be someone where you have to go out there and slow them down on a visit. Some guys don't want you to come near them when they're out on the mound. Like, hey, don't come visit me. Just kind of like take a second, get a new ball. And so to know what your pitchers need and what kind of puts them in the best situation for success is definitely one of the more difficult jobs of a catcher, but he's definitely kind of taken it head on.
What do you want from a catcher?
I think I definitely am someone that likes to slow the game down when I have to. So I've no like, hey, come talk to me for a second. Let's catch our breath, talk through the next hitter. Like I'm very intellectual like in the approach to the game. So I'm bringing him out there, be like, hey, like this happens, let's go here. If he fouls it off, we're going to go here. Like kind of talking through it just to make sure we're on the same page and at the same time kind of catching your breath as well.
A few more questions. One's about Tim Elko, a guy you've known for a bit. Are you his Uber driver? Are you driving him to the park? What's going on with that?
Yeah, I've picked him up and drove him here a couple times. I feel like a little bit it's returning the favor. I remember last year when I first got called up, 𝗭cie would take me to the field a lot and pick me up from the hotel because I didn't have my car yet. And so I think part of it, too, is just kind of making sure that he has a way to the field. He doesn't have to Uber to the field every day and making sure guys have rides. But
looking out for the rookie.
Looking out for the young guys. Always, and
I
am the young guy. I'm also looking out for my other fellow young guys.
You're looking out for your elder. He's older than you, right?
He is older than me. Yeah, I've been playing against Tim since we were in college. He was at Ole Miss. I was at Georgia, and he hit a couple home runs on us on one ACL, and he's like limping around the bases, and I'm like, who is this guy? Like this is ridiculous.
Yeah, people don't know that story, and I want to actually have him tell this story that when he was at Ole Miss his junior year, he played half the season on a torn ACL, maybe it was partially torn ACL, and he still hit like 14 bombs, batted over 300.
Yeah, I mean, I can give a little context to that story because I was playing against him. So, and we were playing him. So he tore his ACL maybe really early in the year, like maybe late February, early March, and took a couple of weeks, let the inflammation go down, ended up not getting surgery. We played him the last weekend of SEC play. That would have been probably like mid-May. And we had every infielder basically with their feet on the grass because he couldn't run. So we're like, we're just going to cover the infield. Second base is like 3 steps deep in the outfield. Shortstop's 3 steps deep in the outfield. Third baseman's back, like way back. And we're like, hey, like if he hits it on the ground, like it's an out. He can't run. And I think that weekend he hit 3 home runs. And it's like, this guy is killing us. And I remember that being like a must-win series for us. And he hit just an absolute killer of a home run in like the 8th or 9th inning of our game 2, and he's just limping around the bases, and like, man, who is this guy? Like, this guy is killing us.
I can't believe this actually happened in a college baseball game. Were you thinking this is like silly, like you've never seen this before?
No, he had a ginormous brace under his pants. It just stuck way out, and he was just going up there and just hitting it, and just kind of, if he hit a double, he would just kind of waddle to first. And I remember we faced...
It's like home run derby.
Yeah, literally. I remember we faced him again in the SEC tournament, and I had faced him pretty well. I remember, we tell this story all the time because it's funny. I'd faced him pretty well. I struck him out a couple times. Sorry, Tim. And we ended up intentionally walking him. I was pitching. We intentionally walked him. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, this guy's on one ACL. Why are we intentionally walking him? And we faced another guy who had seen me pretty well. He gets a hit, and I remember Tim went first to third on one ACL, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, you just ran first to third on one ACL in the SEC tournament. Like, you've got to be kidding me.
That shows you the kind of gamer he is, right? Is that why he's so respected?
Yeah. I mean, he's just done it at every level. Like, it's like guys guys in his situation coming into professional baseball are at a little bit of a disadvantage. Those senior signs are tough, low signing bonus, and it's basically like prove it. And he's proven it at every level. Like, you look at his low A, high A, double A, triple A numbers, like, he just did it at every level. He just kind of forced their hand every way on the way up, and now he's here in the big leagues. Like, it's such a cool story because he's such a good guy, and I think everyone that has met him and interacted with him, I've never met anyone that has anything negative to say about him. He's just an awesome dude, and he's just a guy that you want to root for. And I think that that's definitely something, like, with Sox fans everywhere, you just want to root for that guy. Like, he's just an awesome guy.
A couple more questions. This portion of the podcast brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Let's go into your rotation, starting rotation. I'm looking at you, Burke, Martin, Smith, this young nucleus of starting pitchers, and what you're capable, and actually not just capable of, but what you're doing. What do you think about your guys as a group right now as a starting rotation?
I think it's been really good. I mean, I think that for as young of a rotation as we've had, like, we've all kind of tasted some success in the big leagues and have started to understand what it takes. But I also think, like, being so young, like, being able to challenge each other, and it's like we're always rooting for each other, but we all kind of want to outdo each other a little bit. And, like, hey, you have a good one, all right, I'm going to go try and do a little bit better. And so I think that competitiveness between us has led to us becoming even closer and really just talking and becoming really close friends and just seeing, like, what works, and just being on the bench between starts, like, hey, like, what'd you do here? Like, what'd you think here? Would you do anything different? And just kind of talking about it with those guys, like, it just kind of breeds success, and everyone wants each other to be successful, and we're starting to kind of see some of that click with everyone. And it's just such a good group to be around.
Ethan Katz just walked by. He slapped his hat on you. What has he meant for this rotation, for this pitching staff?
He's definitely the leader of it, and he's definitely the guy that's always behind the scenes with us, like bullpens, game planning, and he's just he's such a good coach and understands pitching in a way that he can explain it to you in a very simple way. And I think that's one of the most difficult parts of coaching, is saying things in a way that's easy to understand. And the way that he's gone about it has been huge for us, and his leadership has definitely helped us all kind of take the next step into the big leagues.
One last thing, and it's really about the team and the record. When you look at the record of the team, what do you see? When you look at the team and who's in this clubhouse, what do you see?
I mean, the record is obviously it's been pretty bad, and I think it's difficult. Like, you ask most guys on this team, like, none of us are used to being on losing teams, like teams that end with losing records, and that's definitely frustrating. But we also understand, like, too, like, we've all won at different levels in one way or the other. Like, we all know what it takes, and so I think even just the learning curve of so far this year, it's been that we're in games, like we're close, like, and it's frustrating. I know it's frustrating for fans to hear that are listening at home and like, man, well, just win then. And it's like we joke all the time that this is a tough league, and it is a tough league, and to win at this level is difficult, and it usually comes down to, you play 9 innings, it usually comes down to one play. And you've been doing this a long time. Like, I think you can attest to this. Like, it's usually one at bat, one play in the field that just changes the tide of the game. And I think being in those moments more and experiencing that and figuring out what it takes to make those plays when it means the most, and hitters coming up with big at bats and pitchers making quality pitches when it means something, like that's a learned skill. And I think it's like, people call it being clutch, but like just kind of the clutch skill of being able to execute when it means most is something that you got to learn how to do, especially at this level. Like, it's a tough league, and to do it at this level is hard, but I think that we've all kind of taken that in stride and are working to kind of get through that, and we want to win together, and we want to win as a team, and I think we're sticking together, and I think that we're going to win a lot more games this year.
Yeah, and what you say, you need a lot of guys on the team to be thinking like that and doing that, and you're not going to do it all the time, but yeah, it's like the more people you have on the team who can do that, the better your team is going to be, right?
100%. And it's we have so much talent on this team. You you have to be very talented to play in this league, and it's usually not about talent, and it really just comes down to some of the execution, and I think that we've gotten better as the year's gone on. We had some sloppy games this weekend, but that happens from time to time. It's a long season. You go through stretches where you play some sloppy games. It is what it is. But really, it's how you respond and how you learn from it. And, okay, like we made that mistake this time, what are we going to do when we're in that situation again? You play 162 of these games, you're going to be in those situations plenty of times. So I'm looking forward to seeing how we respond. I think we're going to respond really well. We got a great group of guys. So looking forward to trying to win some games here soon.
Yeah, appreciate it. And I was just going to say that, you know, the last era of White Sox baseball didn't work, but wasn't it funny how many players teams wanted from that team, right? Like,
yeah.
It was not really about the players, it was about the team. The team, there has to be something with the team for a team to be successful, right?
Definitely, and I think it starts with the culture. I think Will has done a great job coming in and kind of setting the expectation and everything, and you see guys out here doing their work every single day trying to get better. And it's having the experiences is the hardest thing to get a team, and experiencing those big moments, and like when you're in big spots up at Wrigley playing against the Cubs, like what does it take to kind of break through and come through in those big spots? And I think you saw, like, we made some mistakes. They were able to capitalize on probably every single one of our mistakes.
Yeah.
And
you guys opened the door, they went right through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so being able to capitalize on those mistakes is something that you got to learn how to do. And I think that we are starting to learn how, and I think we've capitalized on a lot of teams' mistakes up to this point this year. And when teams are going to make mistakes and give you something, you got to just go out there and take it. And I think that's something we're getting a lot better at.
Go ahead and start taking games. More and more games. Love it.
Yep.
Jonathan Cannon here on the White Sox podcast. Great stuff. Hawk Harrelson, take it away.
All right, Art Chuck, this edition of the White Sox podcast is over.